Now, in order to set up a successful HR analytics function, you need to have the right mindset and the right approach to analysis. In this section of the course, I will speak about this approach of critical thinking and what are the various things that you need to keep in mind and how you need to manage various aspects to ensure the success of the project that you're working on. So one of the most critical and often actually the hardest bit is reliable data. Data, while we've said you have access to a lot of it, it may not actually be very clean. There may be issues in its accuracy, or there could be that you have certain missing values, which means that you have a lot of data for most of your employees, but you don't have data for some of your employees. So you need to make sure that you set up the right systems and the right pipelines in order to start collating reliable data so that you can read it in a structured and more organized way, which brings us to the second point, which is technology. As data becomes larger, you will realize that you will become more and more dependent on technology. And I'm sure you recall as a child how you used to do your basic calculations using pen and paper. I'm not sure, but at least when I was young, we were also taught how to use tools like log tables. And now I think in my day-to-day life, I have never even considered using a log table because or even a calculator, because I always have an Excel sheet that I have immediate access to. And yet even Excel has its limitations in the amount of data that it can process. So an HR analytics function needs to have a certain comfort with technology, because as the size of your data and the number of your variables become larger, you will need some more advanced technology solutions in order to be able to work with that data. And that's where your big data or data science experts come in. And it's not to say that an HR person cannot be this technology person. In fact, a successful HR analyst will be able to marry both of these skill sets. And you will actually find that a lot of the day-to-day work that you do will actually be possible on an Excel sheet. So don't let this skill requirement intimidate you, because you'll always be able to outsource it to experts when required. So this is a little bit more on the data side, where you need reliable data, you need comfort with technology, you need to have the right tools and platforms in order to be able to store and process this data. And then you need to have certain data experts within your team or within your organization who are able to work with this data. But what are you going to do with this data? And that's where these other people who have more domain knowledge come in. So one, you will have your HR experts who are able to bring in their domain expertise of the HR topics and their understanding of maybe how an organization behaves, how an employee thinks, what are certain policies or certain legal requirements that will form constraints within the kind of solutions that I need to provide. And you will also have your project sponsor, and this project sponsor essentially acts as, and this need not be a person who's outside the HR team, but essentially one person or a committee that defines the usefulness of this project. And this is something which is extremely critical, because sometimes the kind of analysis that you're doing or the kind of project that you're running can be something which takes several weeks or several months from its beginning to end, and there can be a lot of costs associated with it. So it's really important to have a champion within the organization who stands by the usefulness of this project and is also ultimately able to define whether this project was a success. So the project sponsor will define the problem statement, and then they will define what is the acceptance criteria of this project, what defines its success. And in order to bring all of these people together to make sure that my project is running in an efficient way, in order to make sure that I have the right timelines and I'm able to meet my milestones in the defined times, you need to have a good project manager, because when you have so many different stakeholders, then this becomes a skill set in itself. But with all of these right inputs, you will be able to approach your analysis and your project in the best possible way.